I actually was part of a graduate scheme. I was employed by Suffolk County Council to go into 4 different placements over 2 years. I started off in trading standards, worked across into the environment, skills and economy directorate as well, and I've also had a ton of experience with ACS and internal audit. Really good thing about that was it gave me a broad overview of the council. I got to make lots of contacts throughout my 2 years across the council, and I had a skills matrix that was provided for me by the graduate scheme. And I made sure throughout my 4 placements that I sort of covered off each of those skills. Most of those were very transferable as well, which when it came to actually gaining a job at the end of the 2 years, obviously put me in a really, really good position. I'm currently an Economic Development Officer. Basically myself and my colleagues in the Economic Development team, we work to try to make sure that the environment in Suffolk is the best it can be to help businesses thrive and grow here, which really means when the council's making decisions, we want them to make sure that they consider the needs of businesses and the private sector as well. And also if there's a particular service or a particular need of the private sector that the current market isn't providing for, it may be that the public sector, the county council, steps in and provides that. One example being, we currently maintain the inward investment function for Suffolk, which is a service which tries to attract new companies to the county, but also to help those that are here to actually expand and grow beyond their current situation. My own individual role, I deal with like food and drink and agriculture. It's really quite an exciting role actually. I get to go out and see different businesses and actually see how the decisions that are made by the county council affect the private sector. I was aware that the calibre of the interns was going to be very high. I knew that they'd gone through quite a stringent sort of application process to get to the stage of the interviews anyway. And we had an extra job to do, I guess is the right way to describe it, in our team, beyond that of our normal day-to-day roles, which was negotiating with national government on something called our Greater Ipswich City Deal, which has just been signed on Wednesday, which we're all very, very pleased about, and you can read elsewhere, I'm sure. But we basically needed at least 2 more positions to help us out and make sure that we could still perform our day-to-day tasks as well. One of the interns led on basically pulling everybody together, almost project managing the Greater Ipswich City Deal project. She did a great job of nagging people, making sure that they were at the right meeting at the right times, making sure that we all were on task when meetings finished, that people actually followed up with their actions, and ensure that the project ran smoothly. Our other intern was involved in creating the research base on which the policy was developed. So they were much more involved in working out that the arguments we were putting to government were actually based in reality and in fact. And both did a tremendous job. Yeah. As I said before, we were aware that the interns had gone through quite a stringent sort of application process anyway, or selection process. So I think above all we were looking for people with a can-do attitude, looking for those that had a genuine interest in the position they were applying for. Not necessarily reams and reams of prior knowledge about the area, but at least being able to demonstrate that they had some sort of interest and some peppering of knowledge maybe of the job that they were going for, the role that they were applying for. And I think other than that in the interviews, I think it was really important they just put their personality across, I think. We wanted somebody that was going to actually go out, especially with the project management role, somebody that was going to go out there and really sort of grab the bull by its horns, as it were, and get people working together, because we were working with lots and lots of other partners, so it had to be somebody that was fairly upfront.
What would you not want to see in an application or an interview?
My little bugbear, I think, on CVs is when you end up with somebody's put their email address on it, and their email address tells you much more than you want to know, either about their personal or private life. That stay away from nicknames or anything like that. Make it look professional. So email addresses should always be, yeah, it's just a small thing, I know, but it should be a a professional one. If you haven't got a professional looking one, just go onto Gmail or Hotmail and get a professional looking email address. Other than that, I think it's just attention to detail. If you're looking at somebody's application and there's sort of mistakes or any sort of shoddiness about it, you can't really take heart that that person is then going to be paying attention to detail in their actual job once you've employed them. So I think that's a really important aspect of an application form. Do check it thoroughly, 3 times if needed. In the actual interviews, I guess the one thing I wouldn't want is somebody just to come up with sort of one-word answers. Think about what the questions the interviewer is actually looking for, because obviously when you're an interviewer, you're always looking for particular things. There's always something behind each question that's asked. And if you can sort of decipher what it is that the interviewer is looking for, you're then onto a winner. It's a great route into local government. I think a lot of people get caught, and I got caught when I first came out of university, in sort of the vicious cycle of wanting a job but having to have experience to get that job. And obviously the internship provides you with that experience to build up, to then start to get into a position whereby you go for these jobs and you have the experience on your CV. During the internship, I think interns can get support from a variety of sources. They've obviously got the sort of corporate centre, those in HR that would support the interns. They've obviously got their own line manager as well, which they can seek support from. I was a manager to the 2 interns that we had, and I always made sure that we had regular meetings. We also had slightly more formal mid-term sort of reviews and final reviews of their placements. And I think most line managers would just make sure that they are very approachable, so that interns know that they can go to them as their first port of call. The sort of almost backup to that, I guess, is that there is a sort of buddy system that operates as well. I was a buddy to a different intern that I wasn't managing, and I guess that's there so that it enables the intern to have sort of quite frank and honest, open discussions with somebody they're not directly reporting to and isn't involved in their day-to-day job. And it also helps them to gain contacts from other people in the organisation. The county council is obviously a very big organisation, and there's lots of different departments, and it's good to try to get as many contacts across the council as you can, because at the end of the day there may be times when we all need to work together on particular projects.